Hi, I'm Dillon from Pilgrim Ultralight. Who doesn't love a good gear loadout video? So that's exactly what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you basically the entire kit of gear that I brought with me on the Uinta Highline Trail last month. In case you're unaware, the Uinta Highline Trail is probably one of the more difficult and more hostile trails in the United States. It's about 104 miles long. And it traverses through the highest range in the state of Utah. It averages well over 10,000 feet of elevation for the majority of the trail, so with that comes some specific challenges. And with that, it takes a pretty specific kit of gear. This is the kit that I brought, and I like to think that it strikes up a pretty good balance between the weight and the comfort and the overall level of safety that you have in such a hostile environment. So we'll start by talking about the pack. The pack is, of course, the Pilgrim Ultralight Highline framed backpack. This is, of course, the pack that I designed specifically to go on this trail. It's about 35 liters in internal volume and about another 9 on the outside of the pack. I designed it to carry basically an ultralight, or at least a close to ultralight base weight, plus about a 6 to 7 day food carry. It's supposed to behave and feel like a frameless pack would, except it has the added advantage of a single frame stay that'll give you a little bit more support for carrying those heavier loads for when you do have a long food carry like this. Like I said, 104 miles, and there's no option for a resupply anywhere on this trail, so you got to carry everything from the start. And there is one section with a pretty long water carry as well. So overall, yeah, I was really happy with the pack. Like I said, I'm probably going to be a little bit biased here because I designed this pack exactly for this. I built the pack myself, of course. Yeah, it's one of the lightest framed backpacks on the market right now. Of course, mine's in the Ultra 200 fabric. So yeah, really no complaints with the pack, but that's probably what you'd expect. As far as some accessories on the pack, I did equip it with the optional hip belt pouches on both sides. As you can see, I usually don't carry hip belt pouches, but I was very pleased with these on this trip. Inside one of these right now at the moment, I do have just some earbuds. And over here, I also have my Garmin InReach Messenger satellite beacon. This thing worked great. I used the InReach Mini last year, and this one, the Messenger, worked even better. Really pleased with it. And something like this on a trail this remote and with such poor cell coverage, especially as a solo hiker like I was, this was kind of a necessity. I also had a shoulder pouch, and in here right now I have my Ombraz armless sunglasses. These things work really well for hiking. They stay attached to your head really well. A trail like this has a lot of sun exposure, and I have pretty sensitive eyes, so sunglasses are a must. And then also on this side, I had the little Peak Design capture clip for my camera. I did bring a little camera just for a little bit of fun along the way. Moving on to this side here, I have my 1 liter smart water bottle. And then I also have my Katadyn Be-Free water filter and 1 liter bladder for water storage. This worked really well. This is my personal favorite water filter. I know it's maybe not quite as sturdy and avoids clogging as well as some of the other filters out there, but for a trail like this where you have such good water sources, like pretty much mountain springs or snow melt off, all the water's pretty good. This thing works great, and it filters fast, and that's what I like. And moving along to the other side here, on the other side pocket, I do have a little foam pad for sitting on, and there's a million uses you can use something like this for. So I always bring one with me when I go backpacking. And then I also have my really cheap, this is a carbon fiber trekking pole from AliExpress. I think it weighs about like 6 ounces. It's just a touch heavier than those Gossamer Gear poles, but these are really cheap. I think I paid like 20 bucks for it. I don't expect it to last long, but I really don't care because at the end of the day, I really don't use trekking poles while I'm actually hiking. As you'll notice, I only have one. I use this just to set up my tent at night, and I use it just sort of as a precautionary device. Sometimes a trekking pole is a nice thing to have for like a creek crossing, or you could use it, as an animal deterrent. There's a lot of reasons that a trekking pole is good. I only carry one and it works well for me. and the weight and price of this just works for me. You will notice I do have a little bit of duct tape on the end of it for making, you know, gear repairs in the field. And then in the stretch pocket here, of course, a lot of other things will go in the stretch pocket throughout the day, depending on what I need, like potentially rain gear, but at least for right now, this is just what I have. So in this little cinch bag here, I do have my bathroom kit. It just has toilet paper, and then my trowel of choice is the Bogler trowel. It's, I think, probably the lightest option you can get, and it seems pretty sturdy, so that worked well. And then I also have my tent stakes in this bag here, and my stake of choice is the Easton aluminum nano spikes. Unfortunately, you can really only get these if you buy a tarp tent and they come included. It's really nice that tarp tent includes them, but I wish you could buy these at a retailer or elsewhere. But these are my preferred choice. They're a little bit lighter than a lot of the other options, and they're pretty sturdy. And that pretty much does it for the outside of the pack. We'll go ahead and move on into the interior here. And of course, this pack does have the side roll top compression straps for really cinching down that load, which is nice. On the top here, I have my sleeping insulation of choice, which for me, on a trail like this, where you can pretty much bank on seeing temperatures in the 30s even in the summer at night, a 20-degree quilt is pretty much the bare minimum that I'm willing to take with me. And mine specifically is the Hammock Gear Premium 20-degree quilt. So premium meaning that this is the one with the higher fill power and the hydrophobic down, which is kind of a necessity for me. I consider hydrophobic down on a trail like this where, you know, weather can be really inclement to be sort of a last-ditch effort at keeping you safe from hypothermia. It's I'm a big fan of hydrophobic down in a quilt like this. I think it's an essential safety item in a lot of cases. And yeah, this has the 10 denier shell and inner fabric, and it works great. It's like 21 ounces, and I find that it really is true to its comfort rating at 20 degrees. I guess I've used it down to about 25, and it worked great. So yeah, really, really good quilt. I really don't have any complaints. This is one of my favorite pieces of gear. Then after that is my rain gear. So I have, right here is my, let's see, it is my Timmer-made rain pullover. So this is pretty much the lightest possible rain jacket you can get. It's just a pullover, there's no zippers here. This is also just, I believe it's like I think it's a 10 denier sil nylon, which means it's the same material that a lot of tents use, meaning that it is not breathable at all. This is just an impermeable layer between you and the rain. Looking back, this is a great piece of gear. Like I don't have any complaints with the gear itself because it is only 2 ounces, give or take. Really nice and lightweight, and it really does keep you dry. But probably wasn't the right choice for this trip, considering the fact that I spent like a day and a half living in this jacket based on how poor the weather was. I think a rain jacket with some breathability and potentially like zippered pits would have been the preferable choice. I do have an Eddie Bauer jacket like that. Looking back, that's probably what I should have taken and just accepted the slightly higher weight. But anyway, great piece of gear. Probably wasn't the right choice for this trip, but it is a great piece of gear, and I do recommend pretty much everything that Timmer-Made makes. Really nice cottage maker. Then I have just some cheap Amazon rain pants. I think these are about 4.5 ounces, and yeah, they do their job. Nothing fancy about them. And just like the rain jacket, I spent a lot of time in these on this trip. Then after that, I have my cook kit. So I have a 650 millimeter titanium pot. Inside, I have a bandana just for cleaning stuff out, and my fuel can is here. And I just have like a little elastic band to keep all that together. My stove is not in there. I'll grab my stove later and show that to you. Side note here, I gotta show you one item that I totally forgot to put in the pack the first time. This is my Mountain Hardwear Air Mesh hoodie. This is just a thin, lightweight and breathable mid-layer This just has a little bit of fleece on the inside of it, and this was the item that I took with me to wear when I was hiking early in the morning when it was really brisk out. And this can add a little bit of extra warmth when you're sleeping at night. And of course this has the hood and the little thumb holes, and it's just a really nice mid layer. And I would definitely recommend, if you want to buy something like this, that you look at the cottage makers that make a similar product like Senchi or Farpoint. However, if you don't have time to wait on a lead time or for a drop to come into stock like those other cottage makers do, this is a nice one that you can buy just directly off the shelves of REI. After that, I have another clothing article here, and this is my really thin and lightweight, these are polyester joggers. These weigh like 6 ounces. These are really similar to like the Patagonia, I think it's the Terrebonne joggers. I prefer carrying these rather than having convertible pants. On a trail like this with the weather and the potential for cold weather, I find pants to be a necessity. I don't like zip-off or convertible pants. I prefer to wear shorts most of the time and then keep these in my backpack. And these work really well. These are pretty inexpensive. I think I cut these at Ross for like 15 bucks. But yeah, just some real thin, lightweight joggers to keep my legs warm in the morning when it's a little bit brisk. Okay, and then next I've got my gloves. So these are some gloves from SmartWool. They do have the little touch pad, which is really nice for using my phone for navigation when I'm wearing them. Most of the time these will just get worn when I'm at camp and it's chilly at night, and when I'm first getting hiking in the morning. They work really, really well. I've gone through a lot of gloves that I've not been pleased with, but these I like pretty well. They've been good to me. Next up is my hat of choice. So this is the Appalachian Gear Co. alpaca wool fiber beanie, and yeah, it's a great piece of gear. These are really expensive. This is like a $38 beanie. Most people would be just as happy with a cheap polyester one. It's really, really nice and lightweight. It's pretty warm, and there's a lot of benefits to the alpaca wool fiber. So better like odor control, good moisture control, like it's good at moisture wicking, but probably a little expensive for most people, but I really like mine. Then next up is my puffy of choice, which is the Enlightened Equipment Torrid Apex Pullover. Pullover meaning that it doesn't have a full zip, it's just a half zip, and then the nice big kangaroo pocket down here. I love this thing. And kind of like my quilt having hydrophobic down, I kind of consider the synthetic insulation puffy to be sort of an emergency item. It's sort of a last-ditch effort against hypothermia in the event that everything that I have, all my clothes and everything, get completely soaked and cold. This is a great thing to have because this synthetic Apex insulation, even if it gets completely soaked through, it'll retain, I think they say, about 80% of its warmth. So a really good safety item. If you start to get cold, wet, and shiver, this thing will keep you warm still. And in addition to that, it's just a really nice puffy too. I find that it's lighter and warmer than all the down puffies I've ever used, like this Eddie Bauer puffy I have. This is warmer and lighter. And yeah, it just works really nice. And I love that kangaroo pocket. It's just such a nice thing to have when you're sitting around at camp and you want to have a little extra warmth for your hands. Okay, next up here, I've got my first aid kit. This just has like some sunscreen, some emergency items, some ibuprofen, Benadryl, some gear repair equipment, Leukotape for managing blisters. I had no issues with blisters on this trail, and I generally don't, but it's good to have a little bit there in case. Also, Leukotape is a way better bandage than like actual Band-Aids are. And I also have some water treatment tablets in the event that my water filter fails. So yeah, just some essential items. Didn't really use it, which is what you hope for on a trip like this. Okay, and then I have a merino wool buff, which I could use to wear around my neck and like keep the sun off my neck. I also just use it as a pillowcase. So I just have a really simple inflatable pillow, and if I put this around the pillow, it gives a nice surface for my head to lay on. Okay, and next up is going to be my Ditty Bag here. So my Ditty Bag is an Ultra Grid zippered pouch that we make here at Pilgrim. This is something that we plan to put on the website that you can purchase. And yeah, it works really well. Nice waterproof zipper, and pretty much, for me, just kind of the perfect size for all your essential items. So inside here, the first thing that's going to come out is my 20,000 milliamp battery, you know, for charging all my accessories, phone, GPS unit if needed, and I do have my little charging cable for my phone. Next up is this knife. So this is a really nice handmade knife by my friend Ben Mack here in Ogden. I'll see if there's a link in the description I can put in case you want to buy one from him, but yeah, he made this specifically for me to be an ultralight knife, but you know, it's still sturdy enough that you can use it for, you know, for wood processing and stuff like that. I mainly, on a trip like this, used it for cutting my summer sausage into slices, so worked great for that. Next up is a bug head net. Didn't need this, but it weighs basically nothing, so I bring it most of the time. I have my pad straps to put my quilt onto my sleeping pad and avoid drafts. Those work great, no complaints. Oh, another stick of sunscreen, which is really important on a trail like this. Mini Bic lighter, of course, for lighting my stove. My Nightcore NU25 headlamp. This is the new one. I know some people have some complaints about the new one, but I like it well. It works good for me. I have another charging cable here. Unfortunately, my phone, my camera, and my GPS unit don't all use the same plug, so I gotta bring an additional cable. A pair of earplugs that I can wear when I'm sleeping at night and help me sleep a little bit better. It's nice to be able to cut out some of the noise that you might hear at night, whether it be, you know, a squirrel crawling around your tent. Being able to cut out noise like that is really nice. I also have a little bit of melatonin here that I bring to help me sleep. I try not to take a ton of it, but it does help me sleep at night. I also have a multi-tool device here. I know it's probably a little overkill to have a multi-tool and the knife that I showed you, but it's nice to have a multi-tool because it comes with a little tiny pair of scissors, which is nice for cutting Leuco tape or repair tape. And the one I have here is the Gerber dime, and it works pretty well. I like it. And then finally, I told you I'd show you my stove, and here it is. This is the Soto Amicus stove. I do have the BRS 3000. I know it's lighter, and most people will prefer to take the really small and lightweight one, but I like having a slightly more substantial stove. Nothing against the BRS 3000. It's worked well for me when I have used it, but I don't know. I just prefer to have a slightly nicer stove, something I can trust a little bit more, especially at high elevation. One of the nights I was camping and cooked food, I was at 11,300 feet of elevation, and in a case like that, a slightly higher quality stove is going to help you out quite a bit. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Next up is my shelter, which is the Tarp Tent Eon Li. I love this shelter. It was so incredibly nice on this trip. It's really lightweight. This is the older version that doesn't have a zipper, so it's really lightweight. It's like 16 or 17 ounces, and the only complaint I have with it is the fact that it doesn't pack down, you know, narrow enough to fit horizontally in my pack. So you do have to pack it vertically. Not the biggest deal in the world, just a slight inconvenience. But the trade-off is that because you can't pack it down so small because of those carbon struts that it has, this tent has really good headroom and footroom because it has those struts holding up the corners. And also that design gives it really good storm worthiness. There was one night where I was just thrashed with heavy rain and heavy wind all night, and this thing was an absolute champ. Such a well-built tent. The people over at Tarp Tent are really making some high quality products. I've loved this tent so much. I really don't have a lot of negative things to say about it, and it was perfect for a trip like this. Okay, oh, I have here my titanium polished bowl spork for eating my food at night. Then I have a plastic Nylafume pack liner here just to serve as a waterproof barrier for like my quilt and jacket if I felt like I needed it, but to be honest, I didn't use it at all. It just stayed in the bottom of my pack, and the main reason for that is because the Highline backpack is seam taped. We tape pretty much all of the seams on the pack, and I found that even after getting rained on for a whole day and a half, I only had just maybe an ounce or two of water get inside the pack, not enough to cause a problem, but if I did need it, I did have this. Moving on here, so I've got my food bag here. This is a Lopsack OpSack. This is an odor-proof, sort of like a Ziploc bag that I put my food in. Bears are typically very, very uncommon in the Uintas, so I go with just an odor-proof bag. If I was in a more bear-prone area, then I would definitely take greater precautions, you know, like a hang or potentially an Ursack, but for a trip like this worked great. Then I have my pillow. Like I mentioned earlier, I just have like a simple inflatable pillow from Amazon. This is, I think this is the Hike Ensure pillow. It comes with a case, which I don't have on it right now. I found that the case didn't really provide much comfort, but provided a ton of weight. So I don't bring that, I just bring this inflatable bag essentially, and I'll put my, I'll put my jacket and my merino wool buff over it to make it a little bit more comfortable. And I think we're down to the last item here, which is my sleeping pad. So I like the Big Agnes Rapide SL sleeping pad. This is the standard length, so it's 72 inches long, but this is the wide length, so 25 inches wide. Really, really comfortable, nice and thick, and pretty warm too. It's probably not the warmest pad ever, but I have used it down to 25 degrees on top of snow and frozen ground, and what can I say? It kept me warm. So probably wouldn't be much better in any lower temperatures than that, but it's a great pad. It's a little heavy for what it is. I think it's 24 ounces, so quite a bit heavier than like the Thermarest options or the Nemo options, but I really like it. I've been pleased with it. And yeah, it worked great on a trip like this where I'm trying to get a lot of good sleep at night. And yeah, it was really comfortable. So I think that wraps it up as far as the gear is concerned. So I guess we'll end by talking about the clothes that I wore. So the top of choice that I wore was this Outdoor Research. This is the Echo long sleeve. This is not the hoodie, the sun hoodie that a lot of people enjoy wearing. I don't really like the sun hoodie. I just don't like wearing the hood. I'd rather have a hat that covers my ears pretty well, and like the merino wool buff for covering my neck. I just find that works really well for me. This shirt is really nice, lightweight and breathable, and it's something that I feel comfortable hiking in pretty much all day for multiple days. And then as far as my legs are concerned, I just wore some athletic shorts. I don't have them here, but just any sort of athletic shorts like running shorts would be great. And then for footwear, I have sort of the tried and true Ultra Lone Peak. This is the Lone Peak 6. They're kind of on their last leg. I have bought a shoe to replace these now. They worked really well. I've always found Ultras to be really comfortable for my feet specifically. However, for a trip like this, I do wish I had a little bit more cushion. But I'll talk about my footwear choices a little bit more in another video in case you're interested. And then I had some darn tough socks. Tried and true darn tough socks. Really, no complaints there. And last but not least, I do have my sun hat, or my bucket hat, if you will. And yeah, lots of sun exposure on a trail like this. And this is the Vaporlight bucket hat. I'll put a link in the description in case you want to get one of these. I really was pleased with it. It's a really thin and breathable bucket hat, whereas some other bucket hats are like, really, really thick. So this breathed really well while I was wearing it. And yeah, it kept my my ears and my face and stuff from getting just completely burnt on trail. So it worked great. Anyway, that wraps up the overview of the gear that I brought on the Uinta Highline trail. Make sure to check in the description for my lighter pack link in case you want to see a full breakdown of the weights and everything. I think I was at about a 9.5 to 10 pound base weight, so I was really pleased with that. And make sure to check out the link in the description in case you want to purchase a Highline framed backpack or anything else that we sell here at Pilgrim Ultralight. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.